We are the only species that makes our food less nutritious before eating by refining.
I really want to understand the science behind diabetes.
The cause of diabetes is insulin resistance. And if we work at the level of why did insulin resistance occur, we can get rid of diabetes forever.
Can type 2 diabetes also can be?
Type 2 diabetes can be healed. Type 1 is what you're asking. Type 1 is an autoimmune disease. Autoimmune diseases, some can be healed and some cannot be healed.
So I was watching one of your videos where you said all the problems are because of excess of protein.
Most people think that I should have more protein because it's the gym trainers who are telling you have more protein. Number 2 cause of disease is excess protein.
Let's say I stop taking dairy products, animal products and come to plant-based diet. Will it be sufficient for me?
Absolutely.
Are you supporting vegetarian or veganism because you feel cruelty towards animal is done?
I believe that we should consume only the foods which are natural to our species. And in nature, no animal drinks another animal's milk.
Let's talk about probiotic yogurt.
Better than having probiotics is to have prebiotics, because prebiotic is a food on which probiotics grow.
First of all, ma'am, thank you for being part of Impact Stories.
Thank you for inviting me.
So how homeopathy works? First of all, I really want to know, because I have heard this much in the market, but I don't know how the science behind it comes into picture.
So first of all, I'm not treating with homeopathy. But I am a homeopath.
Yes.
And I truly believe in the philosophy of homeopathy. So homeopathy works by stimulating the body to react. So homeo means similar. Suppose you have a disease, then you are given something which could produce a similar disease in a healthy individual. So what happens is that whenever anything comes from outside in our body creates an equal and opposite reaction. If we are given something similar to our disease, the body reacts against that outside thing, and that force removes the disease itself. So it's working against, it stimulates our body to work against the disease by producing the similar disease in it. A concept which we, from general knowledge we know is vaccination. Right? In vaccination also we give a similar disease in order to produce the antibody. In a very broad sense, but not really, homeopathy is similar.
Okay. Is it a placebo effect?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Because
A lot of
it can
people
work
okay.
at any age group. It can work even in an infant, and it can work even in a dementia case. So it's not a placebo effect. It is a genuine reaction. So many people who could not be helped with anything else have been helped with homeopathy, because it is a holistic concept which works on mind and body. But that's it's a long story.
Okay. And how to make long story short?
About homeopathy?
Yeah.
And just that, when we work on allopathy, allo means opposite or different. Homeo means similar. So there are two ways that you can work on any disease. You can work on opposite. That means if I have a headache, then I take a painkiller, something opposite to my pain. But honestly, this can never cure, because when you do something opposite, you have to keep taking that substance. In general, medicines never cure. If you think about it, medicines are only given to remove symptoms temporarily, whether it's Ayurveda or allopathy or anything. But homeopathy, real homeopathy, requires only a single dose. And that single dose, if properly shot arrow, considering the patient's mind and body, and considering a substance which could produce a similar state in a healthy human being, it can work wonders. However, this is something very difficult to create. Plus, you cannot solve a problem without removing the cause of the problem. So, even a homeopathic remedy cannot solve a problem as long as the maintaining cause is still there. Okay. Today, I'm working only on the level of maintaining cause. So, for example, you are interested in reversing diabetes, right? When we get diabetes, most of us go to a doctor and the doctor gives us guidelines. The doctor says cut down sugar, cut down carbohydrates, maybe cut down rice and fruits and potatoes and all of that. And most people do it and nobody gets well, right? So the doctor also knows that nobody is going to get well. They give some medicine. And the medicine only reduces the blood sugar temporarily. So you have to take the medicine every single day. And over a period of time, the amount of medicine will spiral upwards. And eventually, despite all those medicines, patient will suffer from the complications of diabetes. So it's not a solution, right? What I'm doing is something totally different. I'm thinking about what is the cause of diabetes, right? For example, sugar is not the cause of diabetes. High blood sugar is a result of diabetes. The cause of diabetes is insulin resistance. And if we work at the level of insulin resistance, why did insulin resistance occur? Then we can get rid of diabetes forever. Like just yesterday, I met a doctor who was my patient, but not really my patient. She read my book, Reversing Diabetes in 21 Days. And she also did our online program, Reversing Diabetes in 21 Days. And it made sense to her. But it was a weird story, which I only got to know yesterday, that 4 years before that, she attended a program which her husband dragged her to. And I was speaking there. And I spoke about what I do. She was not at all interested and she left. But 4 years later, when she got diabetes, she said, "Who was that doctor?" And her son did some research and found me. And from that, she bought our program. And within days, her diabetes was gone. Okay. So she was impressed, right? Now, what are we doing? We are thinking, what is the cause of insulin resistance? Both she and her husband are doctors. Her husband got her medicines and even insulin because of her high diabetes, right? But her determination was that I don't want to take medicines because being a doctor, she knew that this cannot cure. From, I think her HbA1c was 11. Within a short period of time, it came down to 5. Just by making lifestyle changes. And yesterday, she said, "I want to invite you for dinner since you are in Delhi." And I said, "Okay, but I want to meet many of the doctors who have done our consultation training program. So do you want to meet along with them?" She said, "No. If we go out to eat, then we won't have the right kind of food. So let's eat at my home." And so she invited me and then she told me her story and all this happened.
So I really want to understand the science behind diabetes.
Diabetes is excess sugar in your body, in the blood, sugar in the blood.
Spike. Sugar spike, you call it.
Now, sugar is required in the blood all the time because sugar is the energy that every single cell in our body uses for its food, And even our muscle cells require sugar, right? Now, if we have too much sugar, then sugar is stored in our body as fat, so that if we have a time of starvation, that fat can be reused as sugar, right? But the way sugar is like the petrol of our body, right? Okay. So now what happens is that the sugar should enter the muscle cell where it's most needed for energy, and it enters through, it's guided into the muscle cell because of insulin. So whenever the sugar goes high, the pancreas, the beta cells of the pancreas, they produce insulin, so that the insulin is in proportion to the sugar, and it guides the sugar into the muscle cells or anywhere it's required. And there are insulin receptors on the cell. And when the insulin is in the bloodstream, it goes to the insulin receptor. It's like a key that opens the door to allow the glucose into the cell. Now, when we have diabetes, we have insulin resistance. That means the insulin is there. The body is still producing insulin. That is type 2 diabetes. The body is still producing insulin, but the receptors are jammed. Why are the receptors getting jammed? The main cause is fat. Fat in the muscle cells jams the receptors, and then glucose cannot enter, and so it remains in the bloodstream, and then still your body tries to get rid of it. So when you have diabetes, the blood sugar is high, the body creates thirst in order to dilute the blood sugar, and urination in order to throw out the blood sugar. But the problem is that since the sugar is not going to the muscle cells where it's required, we have weakness. So thirst, frequent urination, and weakness, these are the hallmark symptoms of diabetes which is untreated.
And how you reverse it?
As I told you, fat is the cause of insulin resistance, and insulin resistance is the cause of diabetes. So we should first remove the fat. So we teach people how to remove fat from their diet. Where is the fat found? In oil, ghee, butter. So we teach people how to cook without oil, ghee and butter. Even anything. Like you can even make samosas without oil by baking them. So we teach them the techniques of oil-free cooking, which is amazing. And that's why, that doctor who invited me last night for dinner, she said, my house is the only place we'll have oil-free food. So you come to my house, We had a very nice dinner.
So what oil you use?
Oil-free.
Oil-free? How you do it?
Free. Right. We are using, I'll tell you in this.
I'm really interested in knowing how you do it.
So first, we teach people the techniques of oil-free cooking. But oil is not the only, oil, ghee or butter, these are not the only fats. All animal products are also full of fat. Like boiled meat, fish, chicken or milk. You get fat on top. Now, it's not only animals that have fat, but animal products have too much fat. So, if you want to get rid of diabetes, you have to cut out all the animal products as well, right? That means you will be essentially on a plant-based diet, a herbivorous diet. And that makes a lot of sense on the wider scheme of things because, we've been brought up thinking that we're omnivores, right? And in fact, the very first thing our parents teach us how to consume is milk.
Right.
So we don't recognize that we are actually herbivores. But every animal eats by instinct. Like if you have a cow will naturally eat grass. If you put meat in front of the cow, it will not eat. If you have a lion will naturally eat meat because it's a carnivore. It will not eat grass. Now, there are also some animals which are true omnivores, right? But every animal which is a carnivore or an omnivore, if it sees its prey, it will pounce on it, tear it apart, eat it whole and raw. There's no prey that we can do that. We can't eat meat, fish, chicken, or even have milk raw in large quantities because we will get disease because they are full of bacteria. Right? Okay, so it's not even our food. But instinctively, we know that it's not our food because if we see a chicken walk by or a goat or a cow, our mouth doesn't water. We can't pounce, we can't do anything. Right? Every baby loves its mother's milk. It doesn't want to leave mother's breast. But when you first give cow's milk, baby says, pooh. And then mother adds sugar and cocoa and runs around for half an hour to put that milk because baby instinctively knows that this is not my food. Just like a lion knows that grass is not their food or a cow knows that meat is not their food, right? Instinctively, if we were to go to a farm and we see fruits and vegetables, we will feel like picking them and eating them. This is our food. But same way, if we see green fields of wheat and rice, we don't feel like eating it. Our mouth doesn't water because we can't eat it raw. Actually, wheat and rice is not our food. But we are having it front and center in every meal because of our culture, because of advertisements, because of the way we've been brought up, right? If we start eating only that food which nature or God designed for us, you can't even get diabetes. That's all I teach people to do. How to eat the way we were designed to. And the best part is, initially you may feel that it's a deprivation. Like, where will I have my chai or my ice cream or my pizza or my curds? But after doing it for a little while, like my doctor friend of yesterday, you don't want to eat anything else because it's not our food. So instinctively, just like a cow doesn't want to eat anything else, we will also not want to eat anything else. But first we have to learn, or rather unlearn the rubbish that we have been taught, so that instinctively we want to eat only what we have been designed to eat. That's what I teach people to do.
So one part is oilless cooking.
Yeah, one part is
we are not going
to use oil.
Oil.
Okay, I should tell you one more thing. That even plants contain fat.
100%.
Peanuts contain fat, sesame contains fat, coconut contains fat. So do nuts and seeds, right? Avocado, say. And actually, many things have fat. Like even an orange, if you peel, you may see fat globules on the skin. So everything has fat. But if you boil coconut, peanuts, sesame, cashews, almonds, you will not get fat on top. So what is the difference between animal products and plants? That plants have fiber, and fiber holds on to the fat, right? So if we have excess fat in our body, say you have diabetes, that means you have excess fat in the muscle cells. You may not be fat, but you still have excess fat in the muscle cells, which is causing insulin resistance. So, how are we going to usher the fat out? Remember that fiber holds on to fat. So, if we consume more fiber, fiber actually works as a brush. It cleans up our whole intestines, and that is what forms stool. So, if we consume more fiber, then we can usher out the fat with the help of the fiber. So the first thing is that we should eat only plants because they have fiber. And second thing is we should have no fat because that's a cause of insulin resistance. But the fiber is required to throw out the fat. And if we do at least these two things, a lot of results will come. There are a few more causes of type 2 diabetes which we have to remove. Now, how do we cook without oil? By using oil replacers like grated coconut, roasted crushed peanuts, roasted crushed sesame in the food. And since peanuts or coconut or sesame anyway have a better taste than oil,
Yes.
the food will actually taste better. So we teach people how to fry onion without oil, how to do tadka without oil, and once you learn it, it's so easy. You will say, what was I doing all my life? It's so easy to make. It's quicker to cook. It's tastier food. And the best part is you can get well.
So I was watching one of your videos where you said all the problems are because of excess of protein. Right? But is it scientifically correct to say all problems are because of protein excess?
Okay. So one step back. The cause of diabetes is not protein excess. The main cause of disease, number one cause of disease is excess fat. But number two cause of disease is excess protein. And this is true. See, today, most people think that I should have more protein. And they do this in the form of mothers will add soy flour to the wheat flour, or people will take protein supplements, or people will eat animal products for protein. If I ask you, do you know anybody with protein deficiency? What will you say?
What you will?
What will you say? Do you know anybody with protein deficiency?
Even a healthy person can have protein deficiency.
Do you think so? What are the symptoms of protein deficiency?
Who
do you know with protein deficiencies?
I think your muscle get weaker, and if protein deficiency will come into your...
Okay. What is protein good for?
Protein good for?
Why do we need protein? Tell me.
Muscle building, repair.
Okay, so that's the concept that most people have, because it's the gym trainers who are telling you have more protein. Correct? But now we have to think. If I ask you again, what are the symptoms of protein deficiency, and do you know anybody with protein deficiency? Like, for example, if I ask you, do you know somebody with diabetes? You will say, yes, I know so many people with diabetes, right? But if I say, do you know somebody with protein deficiency? What will you say?
Like I said, if somebody have weaker muscle and this thing, I think it's protein deficiency only.
No. You see, protein deficiency has a name. It's called kwashiorkor. And it occurs only in starvation. Right? In nature, we are not built to have protein deficiency. Right? Like, we have to think, where do horses, elephants, or even cows get their protein from? In nature. Grass and trees, elephants' trees, right? Grass and trees. They don't eat animal products to get protein. So what it means is that nature provides them all the protein that they need with the diet that they are supposed to eat. Similarly, imagine if you were on a farm or an orchard, the first thing you will pick is fruits or vegetables. Which one?
Fruits, obviously.
Fruits. If you are to eat only fruits, because we are originally frugivores. If we were to eat only fruits, we'll get all the proteins we need. Believe it or not. Now, I can explain this further if you want.
Yeah.
So, protein is the food for growth and repair, not muscle building. You know how to build muscles? By exercise. Because whatever
But eventually it needs repair also, right? When you build muscle will rupture. You need something to fill it in.
Yes, but you don't need excess proteins for repair. I'm just going to give you an understanding now, okay? Imagine if you've eaten a meal full of protein. Like, say you ate chicken or paneer for vegetarians, paneer, a meal of paneer. Do you feel energetic after that meal?
Obviously.
Really?
I haven't calculated that way, but obviously,
Think about a day when you went to a restaurant and are you vegetarian?
Yeah, I'm a vegetarian. Yeah.
You're vegetarian. You had a meal of paneer. Paneer with some parathas or whatever you had. How do you feel after that meal?
Never thought that way, but obviously, maybe after eating, you feel better, obviously.
You don't feel better. You feel like you can't get out of the chair. As opposed to if you eat, say, fruit. If you eat fruit, you feel energetic. If you eat a heavy meal of paneer or chicken, you don't feel energetic after that meal. Can you relate to that? No.
I haven't calculated that way. Okay, if I'm eating something, am I feeling energetic or not? I think for me, meal is meal.
No. When you eat a heavy meal, say you go to a wedding. Chalo, let's try to understand.
Achha, you go for a wedding or you eat, you feel lethargic at the same time.
As a vegetarian, yeah, you feel lethargic.
Yeah.
You have eaten paneer.
Yeah.
At wedding, what will a vegetarian eat? Paneer.
Paneer, yeah.
Okay. How do you feel after that? Lethargic. How do you feel after a meal of fruit? Energetic. Right? We are meant to have full energy. Now, similarly, if you're say athlete, then you will, if you eat meals which are easy to digest, you will have energy. Plus, say, if you're running a race, then you need some recovery time. The recovery time will decrease when you eat the right food, not the wrong food. Protein is a food for growth and repair, but why are we breaking down our muscles? Tell me, we should not be breaking down our muscles. We are breaking down our muscles because of the wrong foods. I can explain longer, but it'll get very...
No, I'm okay. See, it's your completely...
Okay.
Yeah, it's knowledge-driven podcast, yes.
Our body is alkaline. When we consume foods which are acidic, for example, you must have known that proteins break down into amino acids.
Yes, correct. But our body is not alkaline. We have different pH values.
Our body has to maintain an alkaline equilibrium. Okay. So,
but body is not alkaline.
The pH of the body is alkaline. Of course, there can be there's acid in the stomach.
Yeah. Can be very, pH can vary.
Blood should be in the alkaline, slightly on the alkaline side. Now, if the acidity increases, we get various diseases. We haven't finished talking about the protein diseases, but now we got
it's okay. Yeah.
Acid. So if acidity increases, we get various diseases. Protein breaks down into amino acids.
100%. Yes.
Acid yielding in our body, right? So when we eat high protein, our body becomes acid. That has to be neutralized, and it's neutralized by breaking down the bone to take calcium out of the bone to neutralize the acid, and also breaking down the muscles.
Okay.
So we are creating muscle breakdown because that also neutralizes the acid. But if we were to function in the most efficient way, which is no breakdown and high energy, then we have to eat only high quality foods which nature or God designed for us, which are instinctive to us. which we could eat raw, and these are fruits and vegetables. So if you want to heal from anything, more fruits, more vegetables. Even a diabetic can have mangoes, no problem, because sugar is not the cause of diabetes, fat is. Fruits are not full of fat. You understand?
Mhm.
Therefore, you can get rid of diabetes. Now, we know that excess protein causes certain diseases. For example, excess protein is a food for growth and repair, right? Excess protein causes gout, we know it. Excess protein causes kidney disease. Animal protein is toxic for kidneys. Therefore, if someone has kidney disease, they're told not to have protein, right? Also, protein is a food for growth. Cancer is a growth. Excess protein causes cancer, right? Excess protein causes acidity because acid is required to digest protein, to break down protein, right? So, and then excess protein can also cause uh, allergies. For example, when we have allergies, our histamine levels are high. But that histamine high comes from excess protein. And autoimmune diseases are caused by foreign proteins. So we have to understand that today, many of the diseases we're getting are from protein excess.
But I think diseases are multifactorial. I think there cannot be a diet, only one part of it can.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So even when we were talking about diabetes, I told you that there were other reasons. So, but the number one cause is fat. Number two cause is lack of fiber. We are the only species that makes our food less nutritious before eating by refining. We take out the fiber, and with the fiber goes all the nutrients. So when we have peanuts, we make it into oil. All the nutrients and fiber are thrown away, right? Sugar, oil, white rice, white flour, no nutrients. We even peel vegetables. Even vegetables should not be peeled, right? Like every animal eats their food whole, so should we. Now, diabetes is a hormonal problem. Insulin is a hormone. And all our hormones are in balance. But we can get diabetes also because of hormonal imbalance. For example, why do we have hormonal imbalance? All our hormones are balanced by the pituitary gland.
Right.
When one hormone goes out of balance, other hormones can. Today, we are suffering from many hormonal problems. Like diabetes is a hormonal problem, but PCOD, hypothyroidism, infertility. I mean, India was a country of overfertility. Now we have infertility clinics everywhere. And we have, prostate enlargement. When I became a doctor, prostate enlargement was uncommon. But now, I would say it's so common. 50% of males in elderly age group and now even some younger, I just saw a 47-year-old person with prostate problem, right? Prostate enlargement, breast cancer, prostate cancer, the most common cancers, ovarian cancer, these are hormone dependent cancer. They are also caused by hormonal imbalance. Now, why are we getting hormonal imbalance? Because we are taking in hormones from outside. Milk is full of hormones because milk is a secretion of a female mammal, no? It contains growth hormones, estrogen, progesterone, prolactin, a bunch of other hormones. So it imbalances. And we are not just having milk. We're having paneer, which is a concentrated form of milk. 12 parts of milk make 1 part of paneer. Cheese, 16 parts of milk make 1 part of cheese. So we are having milk in concentration and hormones in concentration, which causes imbalance. Plus, milk doesn't have any fiber and it's full of fat. So it's another big cause of diabetes. milk contains something called IGF, insulin-like growth factor. It looks like insulin, but it's not insulin. It takes the place of insulin on the receptors. So it's like, I told you, insulin is like a key. This is like the wrong key. Now what happens when you put the wrong key in the door? The door doesn't open, but the key also doesn't come out. So that IGF also blocks the insulin receptors and causes problems. Therefore, it's really important to stop all dairy, right? Anyway, we have to stop dairy because of fat and no fiber, but it also contains, and then chemicals are hormone disruptors. So today we have chemicals from all quarters. One is the non-organic food. The packaged food and processed food has chemicals. But even our toothpaste is chemicals. Medicines are chemicals. Supplements are chemicals. Then chemicals are entering through our skin. All those perfumes and lotions and potions and cosmetics and hair dyes or whatever you have, these are all entering our skin, soaps and shampoos. And then we are also breathing in chemicals, those sprays and air fresheners and window cleaners, toilet cleaners, naphthalene balls, agarbattis, these are all chemicals entering our system. Every single chemical is broken down by the liver and excreted by the kidneys. It's a load on the liver and kidneys. Today, so many people have fatty liver disease, right? Now, but the chemicals are also hormone disruptors, and diabetes is a hormonal problem. So we need to minimize the chemicals also, right? And then, stress causes diabetes. Like I know people who, they get a sudden severe stress, they get diabetes, the stress is gone, the diabetes stays.
I was coming to that, not all health problems are caused by diet, because there can be diet, poor lifestyle, there can be chronic stress, there can be environmental, obviously, problems are also there. So I think that's why I'm not only blaming diet for everything.
I totally agree, but kind of disagree.
Okay.
Right. I will just complete the other causes of blood sugar. And the other one is tea, coffee, colas, alcohol, those kind of things, smoking, because that immediately raises blood sugar.
Right.
Right? Okay. So these are other causes as well. Even lack of sleep will cause diabetes, and stress, not just mental stress, but also physical stress will raise blood sugar. Okay. Now, if we want to get rid of diabetes, it will not happen with a medicine. It happens by removing the causes. Obviously, you cannot remove every single cause, but you can first start with dietary causes, and that brings down the diabetes like this. So, as you know, I have that book, Reversing Diabetes in 21 Days, and that came actually from our program. We have a 21-day health retreat where we do all the tests in the beginning and all the tests at the end. Now, this is not a retreat for diabetes alone. It is a retreat for getting rid of almost any disease. It could be diabetes or hypertension or asthma or, even sleep apnea. Many diseases.
And what all tests we run in the beginning?
We only do the blood test because it's done at a resort. Okay. But we do ask for all the tests that the patient has from before, right? So it's done at a resort where the pathologist comes and takes the blood samples. The tests are done and at the end it comes. So we get the reports. Now, but obviously HbA1c is so surely done, right? Blood sugars and blood pressure we test every day because we can do it there. And as the patient gets better, we cut down the medication. Or if they're taking medicine that's not required, we cut it down. But what we really do is lifestyle changes. Diet, then we have yoga, meditation, exercise of different kinds, walks, treks, swimming. We teach them swimming as well. So we have art therapy. We have
Holistic approach we take.
which people can pick and choose whatever they like. Because see, nobody can do everything full life anyway, right? So people pick and choose, and we get a lot of results in 21 days. Like many people, even we've had participants from Delhi on large doses of insulin. The insulin dosage came down in just 21 days. Fully off insulin they have left. Now, that doesn't mean that you can go back to the old lifestyle and continue. The main goal of our 21-day health retreat is to teach you how to make this new lifestyle sustainable and joyful.
Okay.
So they go back, they continue the lifestyle, and they get better. They continue to heal. All the healing doesn't take place in 21 days, but a large part does. They see the results with less or no medicines by the second report. So we can change many things and we can't change everything. Now, stress is one thing that we work on. We have a counselor and we work on it during our 21-day retreat. But stress, see, I would like to share something about stress. We know many people with stress, right? Some of them, the stress is in proportion to their life situation. And some of them, it's out of proportion. But even the out of proportion stress causes disease. Like if you're anxious all the time, it can cause disease. If you're angry or type A personality, it can cause disease, right? Now, we experience any emotion through hormones. For example, when you're stressed, your adrenaline or cortisol is high. When you're happy, your dopamine or serotonin is high. There are other hormones as well. When we experience stress through hormones, when we consume animal products, we are consuming their hormones as well. And so we are borrowing their stress. Now think about it. I just came here by taxi and I saw tabelas on the road, and cows tied up and totally thin. Now, in order for us to consume milk, a cow has to be artificially inseminated. In human terms, that's rape. And then when her baby is born, the baby has to be taken away from her so that the milk can go to the market. If the baby is a male, it will die. Do you think the cow is in a happy condition? What do you think?
Obviously not. Obviously.
All that stress of being tied, enslaved, raped, and her baby taken away from her is coming to us through her milk. And actually, if you cut off all the animal products, my patients have told me the biggest change is the state of mind.
I have one question. Are you supporting vegetarian or veganism because you feel cruelty towards animal is done, or you actually believe that animal products are bad?
I believe that we should consume only the foods which are natural to our species. At least it should be front and center in our diet.
Yeah, because I have seen few people only fight against dairy because they feel that this is cruelty, and which is true also.
I believe that, see, look, every mammal produces milk only for the young.
100%.
And in nature, no animal drinks another animal species milk, right? Like pigs don't drink goat's milk and monkeys don't drink elephant's milk. I mean, maybe a dog who's a pet can drink cow's milk if you give it to him, but a dog will not go in nature to a cow and start suckling, right? That means in nature, no animal drinks another animal's milk and no animal drinks milk beyond infancy. Now, when we consume milk products, it's like putting diesel in a car which runs on petrol. It is going to cause problems one day. Milk can cause a variety of problems. Diabetes is just one of them, right? Same with animal products. I'm not denying the fact that consuming dairy is cruelty and consuming animals is cruelty. 100% it is. But what I'm saying is it's not even our food. We don't have the digestive system like a carnivore does. A carnivore will kill its prey, eat it, and then not eat for a long time. A herbivore eats all day. So do we, breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
I have a very interesting question here. When you give the example of a cow, that it take all their food from the grass and all things. But do you think it's right to compare a gut of a cow to a human body?
No. It's right to compare the gut of a cow. A cow is given the gut which is natural for the cow.
Yeah,
that means
it's a four-chamber.
If the wheat or rice is growing, the cow will be attracted. It's cow food, right? It's not our food. So that's why so many people have gluten intolerance.
Yes. No, my question is, a lot of people give example of the animals and compare with human, but I think the both of the
No, every species
is very different.
To eat according to its own species. Right. Now, according to its own appendages. Correct? If you look at our appendages are not that of a omnivore or a carnivore.
100%. Yes, that was my point.
Therefore, we have to eat not animal.
No, because I have seen reels where a lot of people say, look at horse, how they get their energy from. But the only thing is, if we eat like a horse, can we eat like a horse? No.
No. But what it means is that every single cell of plants contains protein. A horse can get protein from grass. We can get protein from fruits and vegetables. We can get protein, we can definitely get protein from fruits and vegetables. We can get even more protein from anything like seeds, because protein is a food for growth. A seed is going to grow. So these are packages of protein. So beans are seeds, then nuts are seeds. Seeds like sesame seeds or sunflower seeds, these are seeds. Even wheat and rice are actually seeds because they will grow, right? Anything that's going to grow, all those seeds are full of protein.
Right.
And then greens are full of protein. In fact, greens are the only manufacturers of protein in the world. Henna. So we should understand that if we consume only plants, we will not be short of protein. We will get all our needs met because nature has designed our bodies so that we get all our needs met if we eat the right food for our species and our digestive system.
Okay, I have one more question. Let's say we were talking about dairy, right?
Right.
Let's talk about yogurt, probiotic yogurt.
Yeah.
When we talk about probiotic, it's good for our gut and immunity also.
Absolutely.
So then
okay, so let me explain this also. Our gut has a microbiome full of bacteria, and we cannot live without this bacteria. In fact, there are 10 times more bacteria in our gut than all the cells in our body. Can you imagine the number? Now, imagine if you take an antibiotic. You're not just killing the bacteria that is invading, but you're killing the gut microbiome. Correct? Now let's come to probiotics. Probiotics, first of all, we have to understand that our gut microbiome contains numerous families of different good bacteria. When we take a probiotic, we are taking only 1 or 2 families of bacteria. But how do we make curd? We take 1 spoon of curd, that is the probiotic, and put it in a bowl of milk, and next day we will have a whole bowl of curd. That means even if we have 1 good bacteria, within a day we should have as many good bacteria as we need. Same thing happens in our gut. We don't need to take probiotic every day to have a good gut. If we take antibiotics every day, we may need some probiotics. But better than having probiotics is to have prebiotics. Because prebiotic is a food on which probiotics grow.
And what all foods we can take?
Prebiotics is fiber.
Fruits again.
Fiber. Fiber is from all plants, but not from any animal product, right? The minute we fill our gut with fiber, that is a prebiotic, that's the food on which the gut bacteria grow. Remember, if you have 1 good bacteria, you have all you need. In fact, taking a probiotic every day is harmful because it imbalances the different families of bacteria in the gut. So if we want to get the most suitable microbiome, we should have fiber, so that the right bacteria will grow, and the bacteria always grow in the right proportion. And the bacteria are so important that they even control our personality. Actually, if you take antibiotic, you can see a change in the personality because of the gut microbiome destruction. Right? So, our personality is partially controlled by the gut microbiome, which is why it's so important to have a good gut microbiome, which is why it's so important to eat foods which are designed for our species.
So, if we'll put a petrol in a diesel car, obviously it'll stop working because nature is diesel only. But in the human body, if we'll put meat also, it will adapt to the change.
Correct. You know what? We have plenty of reserves. We have 2 kidneys, we can do with 1. We have a large liver, we can do with half of it. We have 2 lungs, we can do with 1. We have 2 eyes, 2 ears, we have been given reserves.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
So as to manage,
Yes.
but we have managed to go beyond all our reserves. Until our arteries are 70% blocked,
Yeah.
we don't get symptoms. But people are getting symptoms. That means, see, moderation never cures. Moderation can manage, but you will not be in the peak of health. And one day you will get disease because everyday moderation eventually is excess. You understand? Because already it was something that's not meant to be put in our body. Eventually it's excess. Today, cows are being fed meat because, see, not so much in India. I learned this only recently, but
I've never heard this before. So,
okay. So, you know what? All over the world, the slaughterhouse byproducts go to a rendering plant and they are dried up and fed back to animals in the food chain. Today, India is not allowing import of milk. It's not allowing import of milk from other countries because I just found out this. I thought that the rendering plants in India are also giving to cows. But cow food in India does not contain rendered slaughterhouse waste. So what happens is, when they go fishing, all the excess bycatch goes to the rendering plant, as well as all the slaughterhouse waste goes to the rendering plant. Now this means everything. It means also the plastic tags, the plastic in the stomach, everything. It goes to the rendering plant, is dried up and fed back to animals in the food chain. Right now, it's being fed back to chickens. I'm sure that it could be fed back to animals like cows in those mechanized dairy things, but I don't know in India. But all over the world it is. Now those cows still survive, but they are not going to survive very long anyway, because their lifespan is only abroad 2 pregnancies. They are forced to produce so much milk that they cannot survive beyond 2 pregnancies. In India, usually they survive at the most 4 pregnancies and then they go for slaughter. A cow can live 27 years. A cow can get pregnant when she's 2 years old. 2 years is the age a cow can conceive. So, you can imagine that in India, cows live about 6 years instead of 27 years because they're spent and they go for slaughter, right? So, what I was saying is that nobody sees the diseases that cows get because of wrong feeding. But we see the diseases that we get because of wrong feeding, because when you change the dietary pattern, people get well. The body is a fantastic healing mechanism. And so many diseases can be healed if we just put the right inputs.
Can type 2 diabetes also can be?
Type 2 diabetes can be healed. Type 1 is what you're asking. Type 1 is an autoimmune disease. Autoimmune diseases, some can be healed and some cannot be healed. Type 1 diabetes cases have been healed. And those cases are recorded in literature, scientific literature. Because the cause of type 1 diabetes is one of the major causes of type 1 diabetes is cow's milk proteins. When a baby is given cow's milk protein at an early age, cow's milk proteins are similar to the pancreatic proteins. And so when we consume that food which is wrong for us, we produce antibodies to that cow's milk protein which destroy the pancreatic protein. And therefore, people can get type 1 diabetes if they are fed cow's milk instead of mother's milk protein at an early age. They can also get it through other things, like even chemotherapy can cause type 1 diabetes.
Right. If these things are recorded, so where I can find the source where I can read about it?
Yes. For example, you want to know about type 1 diabetes.
Right.
The source could be, one of the sources could be Victoria Butenko's books. Victoria Butenko was a Russian raw foodist.
Okay.
And her son got type 1 diabetes at the age of 5. And so he had to take insulin and check his blood sugars and all. But when she put him on a raw food diet, within a month, all that went away. And in few months, he stopped thinking about type 1 diabetes because it was gone. That's one. There's a very good book to learn a lot more, and that's the China study. The reason I'm pointing to the China study is because not only does it talk about all this, but it has references at the back that you can refer to even further so that you can learn more.
Right. And I've heard that protein excess cause osteoporosis, you call it, right? But as far as I know, protein actually support bone density.
Most of the people in the world are having milk, right? Why do people have milk? For calcium, they think. And protein, vegetarians. Calcium. Now, do you know people with osteoporosis? It's not rare. So many people have osteoporosis in the world. I mean, I see patients every day with osteoporosis, right? So, why did all those people who are consuming milk all their life for calcium get osteoporosis? We should think. If milk provides calcium and even protein, then why is everyone getting osteoporosis whether they're vegetarian or non-vegetarian? Correct. Now, see, the cause of osteoporosis is different. The cause of osteoporosis can be lack of vitamin D and it could be the lack of calcium. But do you know that there's no known dietary deficiency of calcium in the world? That means nobody in the world has lack of calcium if you just eat foods normally. The reason people have osteoporosis is because we are, leaking that calcium out through the urine because of acidity, because of acid foods in our diet, which could be tea, coffee, colas, alcohol, sugar, salt, but we can't forget the proteins.
See, when somebody enroll for your program, let's say diet you have already covered, right? What are lifestyle changes you ask them to do?
We ask them to sleep on time because there's a reason it's dark at night.
Yes.
We ask them to exercise according to their capacity. We ask them to, honestly, there we don't ask for much more than that. We also do some, counseling or teach them how to look at their mind better. But we don't do much more than that beyond food. We do a lot of teaching them how to cook and changing the techniques of cooking.
Okay, let's say I stop taking dairy products, I stop taking animal products and come to plant-based diet. Will it be sufficient for me to get protein and all the vitamins and all?
Absolutely. I mean, is a plant-based diet sufficient for an elephant or a horse or a cow? Yes.
For them,
We are herbivores.
For them, I say it would be fine because if a cow consumes a lot of grass, the gut works such a way that it can get much out of it in terms of protein.
Okay, cow is a ruminant, but elephant is not a ruminant.
Okay.
Right? Not every herbivore is a ruminant. See, a herbivore's digestive tract is, or let me put it this way, a carnivore's digestive tract is 3 times the length of their spine. So that when they eat animal products, it goes in the stomach, it stays there for a long time, that's where it's digested, and afterwards it goes out of the digestive tract quickly. If it were to stay for a long time, toxins will be absorbed from the decaying animal products. Our digestive tract is 12 times the length of our spine. And herbivores' digestive tract can be 12 to 16 times the length of their spine. Now, there's a big difference between 3 and 12 to 16. Ours is 12, right? And so when we consume animal products, we are causing toxins to be absorbed all the way along that long intestine. We have a long intestine. This is meant for, so do cows, by the way. This is meant for plants, not for animal products. So if you consume animal products, that decaying material goes through the intestine and toxins are absorbed. It's not something good for us, ever. Like we are not supposed to eat animal products. We have learned to eat by our culture. If you take a baby, young baby, and never give it animal products and then introduce it to animal, it will say no.
100%.
100%. If you take a baby and never introduce it to milk and you give it milk, it will say no.
It's the same way. See, this is something, the example is little confusing at the same time.
If you take a baby and never give it strawberries, but one day give it strawberries, it will not say no.
Okay. Now, but the thing is, it can be like, I have seen people who eat meat all their life and now they don't want to touch most of the time. They don't go for any vegetable meals and these kinds of things, they prefer eating non-veg thing over vegetarian diet.
Absolutely. That's conditioning.
So conditioning can be done, obviously, if you teach somebody.
Conditioning can be done, but that doesn't mean they'll be healthy. They may eat meat all their life. That doesn't mean they'll be healthy. I'm seeing people in their early 30s with chronic kidney disease because of protein supplements and eating only meat. I'm seeing that. It does not mean they'll be healthy.
So
what we're talking about is not even just being healthy. We're talking about the body's capacity to reverse disease by being on the right diet. Reverse disease.
let's say somebody who walks to you and asks for, okay, what all advice you'll give to me to reverse my diabetes as soon as possible.
See, look, I don't give advice like that. When I give advice, I do it with a consultation.
Okay.
Individualized consultation that takes an hour. I look at them as an individual. I look at their stress. I mean, we have a patient data form that they have to fill. I look at all their tests. Their tests may be worse than they think it is. I work on the whole thing, not just like that,
Okay. So it means that, okay, you go through all the checklists and then decide what to do with them. But I don't know, maybe I can be wrong on the many levels, because as far as, if you'll ask me the same question, do you think the protein is bad for the body? I say, I always believe it's not. Can it be a conditioning too?
Protein is not bad for the body. We need protein.
Yeah. So now you're saying that excess protein is bad for the body.
Yes. See, when we are born, that's the time of maximum growth. Correct? That is the time of maximum protein need as a percentage of food in our body.
Okay.
At that time, human milk is enough. Human milk contains 1/3 the protein as cow's milk.
Okay.
If you have to give a newborn baby who doesn't have mother's milk, cow's milk, you have to dilute it 3 times. This was happening in India, even at the time when I became a doctor. Now there is formula. But formula is the same. It's cow's milk diluted 3 times and some sugar added.
Okay.
Because human milk contains more sugar for energy and less protein, because our rate of growth is different than a cow. The cow's baby grows to full size in 18 months. A human baby grows to full size in 18 years.
Yeah.
Right? Therefore, there's a difference. You understand? Now, when we take the amount of protein in human milk and the amount of protein in fruit juice is similar. That means that you can get all your protein needs met with fruit juice. I'm not saying that we should have fruit juice, because we should have the whole fruit.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that fruit as a percentage contains similar amount of protein as human milk. When we consume cow's milk, we're consuming 3 times the protein we need. When we consume paneer, we're consuming 3 times 12. That means 36 times the protein we need as a percentage. Are you getting what I'm saying? Can you imagine the amount of excess protein we are consuming today? And people consume protein plus eggs plus protein supplements. Then they have to get kidney disease.
Okay. But the people, let's talk about in the terms of fitness, right? The people who go to gym, they consider the parameter such a way that if your weight is 70 kgs, so they say that multiplied by 2, it's 140 kgs, roughly they need as a protein diet in a day.
They may say anything. See, I'll tell you one thing I say, that if you want to know what to eat and what not to eat, don't eat anything that is advertised, right? Because if we eat according to our instincts, I mean, nothing in our instincts is going to be advertised. You don't see advertisements for fruits and vegetables, but you definitely see advertisements for milk and eggs and meat and so on, even wheat. Okay, so we have to understand that nobody will spend money advertising to us what instinctively we know, right? Now, to come back to this is something that we have been taught. So, should we listen to nature, God, which is our instincts, or should we listen to books, doctors, or gym instructors? We have to think, right?
So let me summarize such a way that here you're not saying that protein is bad for the body. You say excess protein is bad for your body. One thing.
Protein everybody needs.
Yeah.
We need in proportion.
Right. Maybe that's why I'm saying that a lot of reels which went viral, people misunderstood it. Because there you said protein is bad for the body.
No, I have
excess protein is
I
bad.
said excess.
Yeah. So I'm just clearing out which was a lot of rumors were going on. Secondly, sugar is bad for the body. Excess sugar is bad for the body. Sugar is not that.
Sugar that we have, sugar, is bad for the body.
Okay.
Right? Sugar in natural form is not called sugar. It's called fruits or carbohydrates.
Yeah, that's what I said. Sugar is bad for the body. Not excess sugar is also bad for the body. Whatever you consume.
All sugar is bad for the body. But natural sugar in the form of fruits is not bad for the body. Right? That means sugar with the fiber that came with it is not bad for the
body. It means whole fruit is good for your body.
And even sugar cane. Like if you are in a village and you see sugar cane growing, will you feel like eating it? Yes. How much sugar cane can you eat? You can eat as much as you want without getting sick, because if you start eating like this,
you'll get tired of
nature has limited it.
Yeah.
You will not be able to eat more. Nature has limited us from overeating anything which has excess fat or sugar. Right? You can, nobody, there will be people who say, today I ate too much cake or too much ice cream. But I've never heard somebody say, today I ate too much fruit. This does not happen. Right? Because the fiber prevents overeating. When you eat something whole, you can never overeat.
Yeah, that's why you can make 1 kg of whatever you put it in a jar and you make a juice out of it. It comes very naturally. When you start eating it, I think you're not able to eat 1 or 2, apart from 1 or 2 fruits. What, by the way, Sharan India do?
Sharan helps people prevent and reverse diseases through lifestyle changes. We do this through consultations. We have a team of doctors and nutritionists, health coaches and counselors. So we help people reverse diseases through consultations, and our consultations are online as well as in person. We have consultants both within India and outside India. So we do that. We educate through publications, books, talks, seminars, webinars, etc. We have cooking classes because they have to learn the techniques of healthy cooking. So we have a whole bunch of cooking instructors. And then we also have retreats where people can get well in our presence right there and then.
So you gave me a very beautiful answer. It's all about reconnecting back to the nature.
Sharan is an acronym for Sanctuary for Health and Reconnection to Animals and Nature. And we are sick today in such large numbers, They're building hospitals as fast as they build schools. So, we are sick in such large numbers because we're disconnected. We don't know what nature designed for us to eat and live. How? We have to reconnect back to nature. Actually, if you live on a farm or if you live in nature, it's very easy to understand.
So before closing this, what all you want to say to your audience, whatever you say, now stage is all yours.
I just want to say that our health is in our hands. And it's up to us whether we want to be healthy or not. And honestly, I believe that health is true wealth. Because I know so many patients who have tons of money, but they are sick. So I don't see the point of having money if you're sick. Money is only good if you're well.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for being part of the Impact Stories.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me, Ankit.